Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the US, coming to you today for my monthly global Stampin' Up! Vlog Hop video. This month we have a sketch challenge, so we're all using the same sketch to create 3 cards, and I'm excited that you are joining us and excited to share my projects with you today. So I'm going to turn my camera around so that we can get started. First, let me show you the 3 cards that I designed using that one sheet of the 6x6 Designer Series paper. And I'm going to show you how I did each one, and we'll kind of go in order to show you how to get the most out of your 6x6 paper. I have used the New Horizons Designer Series paper, which I will show you at the end, but this is the sheet we are using today. And I'm going to show you how I cut it. So I've got my trimmer, and the first thing you need to do is cut off the bottom edge. So that's really important because you want one long strip, especially if you're going to use it that way, which I actually did cut mine up, but it's cut at 1.5 inches. So on the trimmer, that is the 1.5 inch measurement right here. So I'm just going to slice that. And then this one is 6 inches across, and you just cut it in half, so at 3 inches. And for my third card, I did cut the strip into 2-inch sections. So I'm going to do that as well while I have the trimmer, so that all of that cutting is done. And we'll put some of these aside, and we'll keep this one and start the first card. So this is the first card we'll be working on. And I'm using a basic white card base for all 3 cards, since basic white is in each of the sections of the paper that we're using. Flatten it with my bone folder. And for this one is a pretty quick one, because all I did was cut out of Misty Moonlight the largest die from the Scalloped Contours dies, and we're just going to mount that with Stampin' Seal. And we're going to mount it to the card. I just turned it at an angle to give it a little more interest. Next, we're going to make our tag, and this one is 3/4 inch, and this background one is 1 inch. The mat is 1 inch, but I'm going to try one at 1/2 inch and see what it looks like. So I've got my Thinking of You sentiment, which is from the On the Horizon stamp set. And we're going to stamp an Evening Evergreen. A little way from the end. Whoops, got a little bit of a smudge there. We're going to turn it over. That is why we have 2 sides. And then on the inside, I also stamped Just a Little High from Me. And that one comes from the Special Moments set, which is a Sale-a-Bration set. And again, I will show everything at the end. Whoops, I think I have the wrong one, right? Yes, Just a Little High from Me. Here we go. So our inside is done, and our stamping is done. And now I'm going to bring in the Banners Pick-a-Punch, and I'm using the one with this flag. Feed it in, and I'm actually going to turn it around to make sure that I am not cutting off the sentiment. Nope, it looks good. And then you turn it around also to make sure it is even on both sides. And that little piece that popped off, we are going to save, because that's how we measure the distance on both sides. Actually, I'm going to cut it. Well, okay. That's how we measure the distance. That's how we know how big to make the flag on this side. So I'm going to put it about here, because that's about the same distance on each side, the same spacing. And I'm going to put a mark on the outside because that tells me where to cut. So I've got my paper snips and we'll cut that off. And then we feed this into the punch, and again making sure that it is even, because it does like to move around a little bit in there. And we cut that off. And now it's even on both sides. So now for the evening evergreen, I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch wide rather than an inch. And the same thing, I'm going to take it and feed it all the way in. Make sure that it's even. Pop it out, whoops, and save the little piece. And now I'm going to mount these together with my Stampin' Seal. And then do the same thing. I want to leave a little space. So I mark it this way. And then cut that off. And feed it into the punch. Turn it this way. Again, making sure that it's even. Works every time. And I have a piece, or I have a roll, I should say, of soft succulent open weave ribbon. So I'm just cutting off a little section and making a loop like that. And I've got my glue dots. So I'm going to take one and put it in the center to hold the two sections together like that. And then we'll put some on what will be the front side, a couple of them, to adhere it to the tag, like about that. And then I actually used my foam adhesive strips to adhere this and pop it up. So all I did was kind of estimate, let's grab that one out of there, kind of estimate how long I needed it to be, and then cut off the section. Like this, laying it over that ribbon to help hold it down. And then one more. Whoops. Try to keep that adhesive on there for the moment. And then it doesn't matter if it's on now. We'll lay it down and pull this paper off. And then I put it in the white space in the middle of the frame and tilting it again along with the frame. And now last but not least on this one, we've got some bling. We've got our wonderful in color jewels. I've got some leftover. I used mostly the evening evergreen. But you could use soft succulent, you could use Misty Moonlight. They all coordinate because those are the colors that are in the card. And then one over here. Should we put it over where we made that little mistake? In fact, maybe we'll put a couple here. We have to have our odd number. We'll put one more down here. Maybe like that. Covers up our little mistake and draws your eye around the card. So there is our first card. And here is card number 2, and I thought of this as more of a masculine card, where the first one really you could use for either one, but if you wanted to make it more masculine, you could certainly eliminate the bling and even the ribbon if you wanted to. But for this one, I really was thinking more masculine. So I've got my basic white card base. One more time. And this time I have used the Painted Textures embossing folder, 3D embossing folder, and the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder. And I really love this. It gives two different depths of dimension, which unfortunately one will be hidden underneath the pattern paper, but gorgeous. I am looking forward to using that again and making it more of the focus of my project. But I'm just going to adhere these to the card front. And you certainly could use, a lot of people prefer multi-purpose liquid glue because they feel like it gets into the little kind of nooks and crannies a little better, but I have found good success with my Stampin' Seal, so I'm using that and just leaving a little border at the top. And the same thing with the Painted Textures. And just leaving a little border at the bottom. I really was looking for something that was reminiscent of water, and that was the closest one that I had. I think the Bark 3D embossing folder might work for this as well, but I don't have it, so I didn't try it. And then of course we have our pattern paper that we already cut. And this time, before we adhere it, we're going to do some stamping. So I have the Happy Birthday, again from that Special Moments stamp set. And we're going to stamp it in Misty Moonlight. And toward the bottom. And then on the inside, for someone who is wonderful in each and every way, again from that same stamp set. So while I have the Misty Moonlight, we'll do that. I'm going to switch these. And now I'm going to bring back the Evening Evergreen and the trees from the On the Horizon stamp set. Make sure I've got good ink. And for this one, I stamped once and twice and 3 times, although it's very subtle. And then on the inside of the card, once in the corner, and then brought it back and did it lower. So it's very subtle, it's very hard to see, but it kind of gives a little more depth as well. And that is it for our stamping. And I debated popping this up with dimensionals, and you certainly could if you wanted to, but I decided to just use my Stampin' Seal. And we center it. And that is card number 2. Again, if you were using it for a woman instead of a man, you could add a little bit of ribbon, you could add some bling, but I decided to make it have more of a masculine feel. And now for our last card. Again, I have that one strip that I cut into 3 pieces. So I'm going to put them the same way I have them here. And we're going to start with the card base. And last time with the bone folder. And now for this one, we're going to use our blending brushes. So I'm going to bring in a scrap. I'm going to leave these here because we're going to need one of those as well. But I have just the card front, and I tried to mimic some of the colors that were in the designer series paper. So I started with Bumblebee, and I have a blending brush that's dedicated to each color. So one for blues, one for reds, one for yellows, one for oranges, and so on. So I've got my yellow brush, and that's how I started with the Bumblebee. I always start off the card because it tends to be a little bit heavy, the color at first. And I'm just kind of going in that top corner. You can make it as dark as you would like. And then the same thing with the bottom corner. But I wanted to leave some room for some blue in the middle because of the pattern paper having blue there. So keep that in mind as you're working. And then I'm going to bring in Pale Papaya and my orange blending brush. And we'll add some depth of color. This one probably you could go start right on your project almost, because it is so light to begin with. And then blending it into that bumblebee until you're happy with the shade. And then the same thing on the bottom. And I'm going to fill in the rest with Misty Moonlight. Again, sort of blending all the colors together. And I want varying shades of blue. So it'll be lighter in some places and darker in some places. Sort of like a cloudy or maybe a sunny sky actually is what I'm going for this one. Make sure you go to the edges and blend into the other colors. And then I did take this one, since there is so much white, and I added some Misty Moonlight to that one as well. Just a little bit more color there. And then I layered each of the pieces of pattern paper that I cut. This one is in Misty Moonlight, and these I just put up against my trimmer and cut. I didn't measure because I wanted a pretty narrow border. So it's less than 1/4 of an inch, or probably less than 1/2 centimeter as well. Extra, I should say, less than 1/4 of an inch extra. And this one is Bumblebee. So Misty Moonlight, Bumblebee, and the last one will be on Pale Papaya. And so for this one, obviously I'm going for a much more abstract feel, but sort of a feel of the sun and the clouds and that kind of thing. And so the stamping part, for the stamping part, I've got the Hello Sunshine stamp. And I'm going to start with the Misty Moonlight on the bottom. So all I did was ink it up and then stamp once, twice, and 3 times, and 4 times. So it just fades, the color fades, and then we're going to clean it, make sure that blue is off. And then I'm going to stamp just once in Bumblebee at the top. Clean it again, clean the stamp again. And bring the Pale Papaya back in. And we're going to stamp once and twice. I think I may just lightly do that again. That color is so pale to begin with. When you stamp off, there's hardly anything there. You want to make sure it can be seen. And now I'm just going to put everything together. Or actually, before I do that, we'll stamp the inside, Thanks for Brightening My Day, which is again from the Special Moments stamp set, and we'll bring in the Misty Moonlight for that. So I thought those 2 sentiments, Hello Sunshine and Thanks for Brightening My Day, went well together. And now we'll put it all together. So again, just using my Stampin' Seal. And I am going to overlap where I stamped the Hello Sunshine. So that you can still see it, but it's not completely visible. And then put the other 2. And I offset these, but tried to put equal distances between them. And then all we need is our bling, these fabulous butterflies, the brushed brass butterflies. Say that 3 times fast. I'm going to bring my take your pick tool in again to pick those up. And I just put a large one in the bottom corner. Whoops. This one is actually large enough to pick up with your hand and move like that. And then I added some of the smaller ones. In the middle. And up at the top. And there we have it. There's our last card. For the envelope, I probably would put some of the pattern paper on the back, maybe another sheet of this, cut it up and put it on the back flap. And I definitely for this one would stamp Hello Sunshine on the bottom left corner. For the happy birthday one, I'll bring everything back in again. I would stamp happy birthday on that lower left corner. And for the thinking of you, I probably would do the same, stamp the thinking of you on the bottom left corner. So there are the 3 cards. I hope you like them. Thanks so much for joining us on our vlog hop today. Remember to go to the description to find the link so you can hop to the next participant. And come back to my channel, check out my other videos. I have other cards, scrapbook pages, home decor items, tips, techniques, and I do paper pumpkin alternatives every month. So, and I'll be actually doing one very soon for the kit that I just received, so look for that. And if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to get some love in the comments. Leave me some love in the comments. I always appreciate that as well. It helps me to know that people are watching. And I hope to see you again soon. If you like anything you see, remember that it's Sale-a-Bration time. Oh, that's right. And let me show you. I wanted to show you some of the things that I used to make this before I sign off. But I did use the Special Moments stamp set. That's a free Sale-a-Bration item that you can earn with a $100 merchandise order. And I love it. There are so many different sentiments and many that you can use on the inside of cards, which I really sometimes am looking for. So I was happy to find that. I also use the On the Horizon stamp set, the Scalloped Contours dies, like I said, this largest one here for that first card, and the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder, and then the Painted Textures embossing folder for that second card. And of course, those wonderful brushed brass butterflies and the Scalloped Soft Succulent open weave ribbon, excuse me, not scalloped. So lots of wonderful products, and the star, of course, being the Designer Series paper. So here are the beautiful papers. And the back side. And here are the other half of them. Just gorgeous. I'm having so much fun using, love that. Oh, gorgeous. And the back sides of those. Again, some that you can also still use for scenes and some that are more abstract, which is what we were going for in this today. But those are the gorgeous papers, the star of the show today. So again, thanks for joining me. And if you are interested in placing an order, contact me. And I hope to see you again on my channel soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.